Good morning and welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church live stream worship service. I'm Paulette Lichtman-Panzer, a 35+ year member of our community and your speaker today. Accotink UU Church is a welcoming and inclusive community, and we invite all of you who seek to create a more just and compassionate world through our actions to bring about justice and by honoring the web of nature of which we all are a part. All are welcome here, no matter whom you love, no matter your identity or heritage, no matter your beliefs or background, no matter your means or gifts, you are welcome in this religious community. You are also welcome to share in our virtual coffee hour after worship simply by staying in the Zoom meeting after worship. And I am going to ring the bowl right now to welcome you all.
Thank you, Paulette, and greetings to everyone. I am Judy Robinson, your worship associate for today, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. If you're new to Accotink and you'd like to talk more about this church, please be sure to reach out to me, to our minister, Reverend Pippin, or to a member of the board. Contact information is posted on our website at www.accotinkuu.org. On our website, you can check out the online order of service or the worship section of the webpage. While you are on the website, be sure to check our events page for upcoming virtual gatherings and other news. I now invite you to close your other windows or apps and devices. Take a deep breath and center yourself for worship.
Today and all days, we are called to pay attention. I'll be sharing with you some things I've learned to treasure during these COVID-19 months of isolation. I believe all of us are grateful for the attention and love we experience in this beloved community. And now Judy will light a chalice of flame and connection to one another.
As I light this chalice, I invite you to light your own chalices at home. As I say these words by Deborah Falk. The chalice lit is a beacon of hope in a world in crisis, a beacon of possibility made manifest in community, a beacon of warmth through our interconnections, a beacon of light illuminating our shared wisdom, a beacon of connection by our being together. Our reading comes with words by Gretchen Haley. Surrender only to this life, this day, this hour, not because it does not constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty and startles us with delight, if only we keep waking up.
During this past church year, I was a member of a 5-person covenant group. And during that time, we discussed a number of topics, a number of weighty topics, compassion, justice. But this homily relates to something that we discussed during that time. We discussed attention. How do we pay attention? Who do we pay attention to? And I suggest to you that during the next church year, when covenant groups start up again, you might want to consider it. It's always a small number of people and you get to know the others in your covenant group quite well. Wake up and smell the roses. When you were young, do you ever remember a teacher telling you, pay attention in class, or a parent saying, pay attention when I'm talking to you, or that parent saying, be quiet and don't utter a sound during the service. Well, it turns out that paying close attention to what's right around you can be a really marvelous thing. Alice Walker, the famous American novelist, poet, and social activist, famously wrote, I think it pisses God off if you walk by the color purple in a field somewhere and don't notice it. Walker's words are a great reminder that attention and gratitude go hand in hand. If you go for a walk and are so caught up in your own problems and distracting thoughts that you don't even notice those beautiful purple flowers, then you miss out on the very existence of all the natural beauty around you. A beauty that could possibly enlarge your world and provide you with gratitude, even wonder, for the existence of so much in nature that is glorious and life-affirming. In the novel Color Purple, the main character, Celie, is ultimately able to reimagine for herself the righteous and fearful God of her upbringing on her own terms and change her internal narrative to believe in a God that delights in creation and wants human beings to love God that God has created. As Unitarian Universalists, of course, our spirituality is very different from Celie's, but a belief in grace and a respect for nature is something that a lot of us deeply cherish. Understanding and appreciating flowers, animals, objects, sounds, or movements requires that you truly look at them or listen, feel, or smell them. Attention requires that you focus simply on what is in front of you in the moment. And once you experience something fully, you just might become affected by it in some new way. The next time you go for a walk, try to do more than just hear the background sounds or have an exchange with yourself or a companion. Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. We do that frequently, and sometimes that's the whole purpose of the walk. But COVID-19 restrictions have focused me on my very best days to truly look and listen. I started finding trails and nature walks not visited by many people. I was wanting to just get out of the house, literally just get out of the house for a much needed change of scenery. What I unexpectedly learned was that these walks actually reassured and calmed me. The walks allowed me to forget about presidential politics and the COVID-19 infection and death rate for a while. And to my surprise, they very greatly helped me to increasingly appreciate the natural world around me. One of my favorite new trails is named in honor of Elizabeth Hartwell. She's a Virginia resident who lived near Mason Neck. In the early 1960s, a number of big developers sought out land on Mason Neck to build new commercial and residential communities and an airport. But Elizabeth recognized the potential of the Mason Neck pristine peninsula as a safe haven for the endangered bald eagles that flew along the Potomac River. She organized efforts to stop development, and in 1969, her citizen crusade finally convinced key federal, state, and local officials the value of protecting Mason Neck and the bald eagles for future generations. Her efforts resulted in the Elizabeth Hartwell Mason Neck National Wildlife Refuge and earned her along the way the nickname Eagle Lady. That term was coined by would-be developers who flapped their arms like wings and made eagle noises at her when they saw her in the halls at civic meetings where the potential changes were being debated. This march she saved, and it is the very first federal refuge created specifically for the protection of bald eagles. It is covered with oak and hickory forest, and it includes the largest freshwater marsh in Northern Virginia. Stan and I typically walk this marsh trail several times a week, and I try to give my full attention while walking so I can hear and see whatever is in the woods or the marsh. I now recognize the call of a red-winged blackbird. On the marsh, they're as common as sparrows in the suburbs or city, but the vivid red and yellow stripes on the glossy black feathers of the males are so handsome. And they're easy to see as they forage for insects by picking them from plants or by catching them in flight. By focusing on the water, paying close attention to it, the marsh has provided sightings of muskrats, a beaver, and swimming brown snakes, and on many occasions, even sightings of Catherine Hartwell's beloved eagles. Back at our home, when I'm on my little fourth floor deck, even if I'm busy doing a crossword puzzle and not paying attention to anything else but that paper, I can hear a hummingbird's beating wings and know that it wants a sip of the sugar water that Stan provides. But when you consider that hummingbirds can fly at a maximum speed of 49 miles per hour when they need to, and can hear far better than human beings, it's a bit surprising that until just 3 weeks ago, and we had put that feeder out in early May, but until 3 weeks ago, they still feared us and waited for us to go inside before venturing back to the bird feeder. We had to stay totally quiet and refrain from moving at all before they would sip the food while we were there. When you really focus on something, it can make you want to learn a lot more about it, maybe even develop a passion for it. Most of you know that hummingbirds are the only birds that can fly backwards. But did you know that they have no sense of smell? Or that their average weight is less than a nickel? Or that they can even fly upside down when they need to? Hummingbirds almost never stop moving, and they spend nearly all of their time in the air. Their legs are so small and weak, they typically can't walk at all. But in the air, they are masters. The UU minister, Sean Dennison, wrote, "The ability to see beauty is the beginning of our moral sensibility. What we believe is beautiful, we will not wantonly destroy." In other words, once we notice the beauty at the heart of a person or an animal or something else in the world, it pains us to see it destroyed. So seeing the beauty of something might come with a commitment. Its survival might become your mission. The poet Mary Oliver wrote, "Attention is the beginning of devotion." It's a beautiful way of saying you can't love something that you don't really see. Glances and self-interested attention never get to the real object or person. Glances stay on the surface. Often when we're out in nature, it's an animal that prompts our attention. Its movement, chirp, cry, or splash may prompt us into looking closely to see where that sound is coming from. Without giving our full attention to the displays around us, the highlights of our world can just fade into the background. And there are so many additional ways that attention can help us. Twyla Tharp said, and she's a famous dancer and choreographer, art is the only way you can run away without leaving home. I'm going to say that again because I love that sentence. Art is the only way you can run away without leaving home. To me, that means that watching and careful listening can produce a more meaningful life for each of us. There's more to life than moving up the corporate ladder, or getting the fanciest car, or keeping up with the Joneses in a myriad of ways. And when we consider our families, it's all too easy to get preoccupied, wrapped up in work or worry. We also know how big of a difference a little attention can make. And during COVID-19 time, life is very stressful for everyone, adults and kids. You might try to focus your full attention on someone near you, a child, a partner, a neighbor, or even a stranger in a grocery store, as long as they have on their mask and are 6 feet away. Sometimes people who live alone or are depressed just want to make contact with another human being. So you can consciously make a decision to take a few extra minutes and listen to those who reach out in the grocery store, at the gas station, or elsewhere. Medical studies confirm that people who are dealing with a crisis and can find a higher sense of meaning can also experience better emotional well-being. Barbara Fredrickson, a psychologist at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, worked with students suffering from a variety of problems. She found that many reported that they experienced fleeting positive emotions from enjoying a piece of music or helping someone. Fredrickson calls these feelings ordinary magic. That's why so many volunteers feel great joy in what they're doing. I think I feel a bit of that ordinary magic when I'm in the marsh or focusing on those hummingbirds. Psychologist Maria Sarosis writes that to survive a crisis, each of us must choose what's in line with our values. That could be more kindness, spirituality, or appreciating the life around us in its big and small moments. If you focus attention on how to shape your life right now, you might not feel so victimized by what's going on in our COVID-19 world. Many of us have begun to read more during this time of isolation. Jackie Kennedy Onassis wrote, "Read for escape, read for adventure, read for romance, but read great writers. You will find to your delight that they are easier to read than the second-rate ones. They touch your imagination and your deepest yearnings. And when your imagination is stirred, it can lead you down paths you never dreamed you would travel. If you read great language, you will develop, without your realizing it, an appreciation of the excellence that can shape your life." Of course, Jackie Kennedy Onassis was an editor, so not surprising to hear those words that she wrote. I take courses at Osher Lifelong Learning Institute over at George Mason, and I've been reading the novels of Charles Dickens, helped along by one of my most favorite instructors. I'm certain that many of you can quote the first few words of Dickens' 1859, A Tale of Two Cities. You know, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But that sentence doesn't end there. This literary genius continued that sentence with, it was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. Wow. The story is about the conditions that led up to the French Revolution and the Reign of Terror. But don't these words seem especially relevant today? That's what paying attention to literature or art in any of its guises can do. It can take us on a journey and help us to understand things in a way we hadn't before. Paying close attention to music, painting, drawing, sculpture, dance, literature, or poetry can provide comfort from our world and give us a different perspective from the one we already had. How many of us watched Hamilton and at the same time got a new appreciation for rap and hip hop? I know I did. Some people didn't think that our founding fathers and their companions could effectively be portrayed by African Americans and Puerto Ricans. How many of you, after seeing the play or video, wanted to go back and watch it again so you can understand the words more deeply? Perhaps watch it when there are fewer interruptions so you can pay closer attention and savor it all the more. Breezing Up a Fair Wind is an oil painting by American artist Winslow Homer. He painted it in 1876, and you can see it on the National Gallery's website. The painting depicts a boat called the Gloucester, chopping through that city's harbor under a fair wind. Inside the boat are a man, 3 boys, and their catch for the day. I love this painting. The boys look like they're having such a good time in spite of the waves. They're relaxed, even though the boat is heeling over. Art critics will tell you that the man holding the tiller looks forward to the horizon, a statement of optimism about his future and that of our young United States. I don't know about that, but I can tell you that looking at this painting, not just wandering by it to get to as many paintings as possible in a brief period of time, I can feel the wind, almost smell the ocean with its dappled sunlit waves, and think about a time many years ago when I was in a sailboat on the Chesapeake Bay, soaring through the water on my way to St. Michael's, Maryland, to meet up with a few of you from this congregation. If you go online to the National Gallery website, you can now get free reserve tickets to wander through the ground floor of the gallery. You can't see the Winslow painting, but you can see a wonderful Degas exhibit and other galleries on the ground floor. When we went, there were a few people there, and masks and social distancing were required. We felt very safe. In this current world of the Black Lives Matter movement, true attention may result in you not being able to look away from a problem that has been evident in the United States and across the globe for centuries. Paying close attention to the words, actions, and videos about this important cultural shift may cause you to act in a way that you didn't feel was necessary in the past. You might feel the need to join a rally or write postcards or letters, And that's a plug for our fellow congregants who are trying to get more volunteers to do this task. Or you might focus on making a contribution to a cause that was always there, but somehow your attention to the problem will make you take action now. Amanda Udis Kessler wrote, "We are called to pay attention to the society in which we live. We are called to understand the ways in which the lives of people we don't know and never will know are made harder by political and economic policies that value some kinds of people over other kinds of people. In paying attention to our society, we give thanks for the many people who are working for justice for everyone, and we join in working with them so that all people are treated with the dignity and worth they possess." I'm going to end this morning with a quote from Rumi. You can almost never go wrong with a quote from Rumi. "This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all." And I would like to add, welcome those moments, entertain them, and give them your attention.
The words for our reading are also from Amanda Udis Kessler. "In all that we do, we are called to pay attention to the natural world around us. We are called to understand how our decisions help the world to flourish or cause it harm. In paying attention to the natural world, we give thanks for the ways it sustains and enriches our lives. And we commit to living sustainably so that all beings have the chance to live, and so that many generations after our own can celebrate the planet and its gifts. Love, compassion, gratitude, and the demands of justice call us to pay attention. As we pay attention, we bless ourselves, each other, our society, and the world."
Judy will extinguish our chalice flame, but please remember that we carry within us what we kindled: the light of inspiration, the warmth of compassion, and the fire of commitment. May we bring these gifts to our lives and share them radiantly out into the world.
I invite you to join me now in our community blessing with these words from David Bumbaugh. "This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity which makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity."
Let's leave with the belief that our world holds a multitude of beautiful and wondrous phenomena that we can attend to with joy and gratitude.